Right, that's fantastic. So my name's Julie, and today I'm going to run through how calQrisk can help you manage your operational resilience. Now, I know quite a few people that are joining the call today have already attended some of our operational resilience educational webinars that we've been running over the last month or so. So today I'm going to run through our software solutions and various areas to outline how we can assist you with recording that data, managing the data on the system, and then the reporting as such that you need. So to begin with, I'm going to run through some slides. So we at calQrisk, and we produce a governance, risk and compliance solution. For those of you that have joined that don't know anything about it, we are based in Shannon in Ireland, and we have been around since 2006, and we released our first software solution in 2012. And from that point onwards, we've worked with our users and we have become a modular solution, helping them in various different areas of risk and compliance. So we work in different sectors, so financial services, insurance, education, aviation, anywhere where there is a need for sort of risk and compliance management. And these are some of the organisations that currently use our solution. And I'll be sending across the slides later so that you can look these up if you want to. So today we're looking at the areas that can assist us with our operational resilience and looking at it by use case, essentially. So focusing today on the third-party management, we have an area where we can list all the outsource providers. We can log their criticality. We can manage their due diligence, so that can be the initial due diligence processes, ongoing due diligence. We can keep copies of any sort of paperwork, contracts, SLAs, etc. And also track key dates and send reminders if they're the key date that needs addressing coming up in the system. Now, with that information, we can collect as much or as little as we need, and we can run regulatory reporting off the back of that if that is needed. Now, supporting this area, we have our key place where we operate risk management, so you can keep your risks within a risk register, and they can link back to your third party. We can manage compliance in the solution. So there's various ways that we can do this. We do have inbuilt compliance tools that you're welcome to use, or we can set up your own compliance framework within the solution. And again, that can link out to other areas in calQrisk. We can record incidents, so you can choose to have different forms created, let's say a major or a minor incident form, and then you can collect that data. It can be sent to the correct person to manage the progress of the incident and close it off, but we can also link that back to our third party, to our risk, to our control. So as you can see, we have this cross-referencing in the background that is linking everything together so that we get a very holistic picture of what is going on. Then finally, we're looking at our operational resilience. So what are those critical services that we provide? We're recording those. We're looking at the different activities within those services, and also creating visual maps to define them. And of course, if there's an incident, we can review the maps and see if we need to put in any extra steps. And together with that, we can add our tolerance metrics in there. We can look at our dependencies. So we depend on some third parties, on facilities, on technologies, on people. and really look at our operational resilience to make sure we've got all areas covered. Then looking at calQrisk as a whole, this is a wheel that shows, all the different modules that we have. So we have our risk at the top here, but today we're focusing more on the third party management and the processes, the operational resilience areas here too. We have extensive reporting capabilities. So there's over 100 reports within the solution. We also have a custom reporting tool, and typically as part of onboarding, we're looking at your existing reporting suite. Do you want that recreated in the solution, or do you want to develop some more dynamic reports? There is an area for dashboards. So the dashboards are now AI driven. We can use natural language to type in exactly what we want to see on our individual user dashboards, and also share those with other users in our department if we want to as well. So now I'm going to pop into the solution itself. I just need to refresh my screen. So calQrisk is an online web-based solution. We use Amazon Web Services as our platform. We do all the updates and backups to keep the data safe and secure. The first screen we come to is the context. So initially how we divide up the data. So this can be different entities, different business units, functions, risk registers. And we just go into our corporate one at the top here. Now, just for interest, I've landed on our risk screen. And as you can see, we manage risk registers. And I have got down here some portfolios for operational resilience and outsourcing risks in here, which you could choose to add into if you want to. And then these can link back to the other areas in the solution. But we won't go through those today. Going down to our third parties area on the left hand side here, I have my third party list, and we can change the amount of columns we see on the screen. I've reduced mine down, but you can see I've got my list of third parties. Now, what we have recently introduced is the ability, when you're taking on a new third party, you can look up their information. So I can type in here who I am looking for, and then I can search. And we're searching various areas, including company's house. And you can see it searching there. And as I scroll down here, it's pulling through the records. It's using AI to suggest the best match. And so I picked up my LGIM managers here. And it's also showing me that there's some mentions. And this is, once you've added the company to your listing, you will always receive mentions that come up in the news channels. So here we have about an unauthorized firm warning. So you can look down. If we go down to the bottom here, it's pulled through all that, all the references, the registered address, excuse me, jurisdiction, all that information is pulled through. And I can quite simply, if that's the correct one, I can just add that other third party onto my system. And that's a starting place for all that data that I need to add later. And you can see that there, and I've got some more here, and you can just pop down and see the different mentions. So as you add all your third parties on here, when there's a news item that needs your attention, that will pop up in the column here so that you are informed of anything that is going on that you need to know about. Now let's go into the record itself. So this is our individual third-party record. It's quite configurable. We have standard information, so who they are, the service they provide, contact details, address, etc. But there's quite a few, over 80 custom fields that you can avail of. This particular example is set up to capture the information needed for DORA, so you can have sort of more or less fields that you wish. So we have key dates, and we can trigger notifications from any of these dates if you wish that to be set up. Moving down, we have the contract details, we have the criticality, tick boxes down here. Each third party have a relationship owner. And then there's a commentary box down the bottom, which you can use if you want to. This area here for regulatory information, that can be renamed. This is generally where we have most of the customization in here. So as much or as little data as you wish to sort of manage in the system. Now, importantly, at the top, we can attach documents. So these can be a copy attached to the record, or it could be a link to SharePoint, a Google Doc, or you could use our own documents module down here where you can keep them within the calQrisk system itself. You can link this third party back to one or many risks. So you've got that connection there. You can create tasks. So tasks are actions. This is a message that's going out of calQrisk. So you type in here what it is you want to know. You can attach a document, or you can request a document. When does it need to be completed by? And who is it going out to? So once that's the sort of simple information you need to put in there. Once that's done and you click save, the task owner receives an email notification that they've got a task to answer, and that prompts them to log in and they answer the task here. Now we can, as I've said before, with date fields, we can send a prompt a week before it's due, on the due date, or after it's due. I can also be sent a prompt to say that the question has been answered, if I prefer that. But we do have a briefing email that goes out once a week to all the users. It just shows them what they have outstanding. Now, tasks can be taken to another level. So if we go down here into the other section, there's areas to put in recommendations, closing comments, but you'll see there's further categorization on the right-hand side. And you can also copy in another individual as well. So this task is within the third-party record, but they do have their own module on the left-hand side so that you can manage all the tasks as a whole in the system. So that's task one question to one person. Then we have monitoring, which is used quite heavily within the third parties module for due diligence. So we can send out our initial due diligence questions, and then we can schedule monthly, quarterly, annually, however often you want those to go out. So they can actually go out to the third party. They can answer them. They have a very simple screen which they can answer them on, and then the results come back into the third party monitoring section. And the account owner can go down and they can review them, tick them off as reviewed, and address any of the sort of negative answers that need addressing there too. And again, similar to tasks, monitoring has its own module on the left-hand side. So you can manage all of the due diligence questions going to all of the third parties if you want to as well. Some more of these buttons at the top, we can list the fourth parties. So the screen for that is similar to the one that we're on. So you can list the fourth parties there. You can see the incidents that are linked to the third party. So we'll log them in the incidents module on the left-hand side. And the entities, now that's used if you've got sort of more than one business entity in the system, but you want to keep one record for that third party and not have to repeat it 3 or 4 times. You can manage the one record, but link it back to the different entities on there. So looking at our third party record, we can have the fields that we wish in the body of the screen. Then we have the linkage at the top, cross-referencing to different areas. And we can also link it to those different entities. So once that's complete, we can look at our processes then. Now, this is where we define our critical business services. And as you can see, I have a list of those down here. And just for example, we'll pop into this payment processing one here. So we put in the description, what is the service that we offer, critical periods, other data, the details over here, the working hours, the criticality. As we move down, we can see we have our regulatory details. There's plenty of custom fields that we can open up on here if you want additional information recorded. And then down on the right hand side to our impact tolerance metrics. We are looking at the dependencies. So people, who is it dependent on? Technology, facilities. Then again, if we go up to the top here, we have our third parties that this business service is dependent on. Again, we can link it back to risks. If there's an incident occurs, an incident is linked to this business service too. We can add monitoring questions. So these are the repetitive scheduled questions that can go out from time to time. But the area that we do have on here is the ability to create a flowchart of the different activities within the business service. So these are very easy to draw on screen. Again, they can be as detailed or as brief as you wish them to be. And should there be an incident that occurs and you need to add in a few more steps, you can just redesign these, update the information on your process map, and then hopefully that incident will be eradicated from happening in the future. So pulling together the risks, the detailed third-party management so that we make sure that we have all the information necessary to manage our third parties, that we collect the data from them. Linking this all back to our critical business services, we get a fully rounded picture of our critical services, what they're dependent on, and hopefully be able to sort of respond very quickly if there are any incidents that do occur. Now, we record incidents in a register. So this is taking us into our incidents register. We create forms for you. So you can have 1, 2, 3, 4 different forms: major incident, general incident. We just go into this major incident form here. It's split into 3 sections, and this is entirely bespoke to the data that you want to capture. So section 1, this is generally where we record the initial information, and this can be open to many or all users to be able to come to section 1 and record an incident. And when it's categorized, somebody else can be notified that an incident has been recorded related to their responsibility, and they can come in and start addressing that incident in section 2 and section 3. So these forms are created exactly how you want to see them on screen, and then the relevant reports are built. There's a comment section down the bottom there too. So that's got quite a lot of fields on it, but of course you might only, for some instance, you might only need to use section 1. Now looking again at the top here, we can attach documents related to this incident. We can link it back to risk. We can create a task, which is an action, in order to address and close the incident. But importantly, we can link it back to controls, to those third parties that we've just looked at, to the critical business services. And indeed, if we have any other registers that we have created, if you look on the left-hand side, we can create different registers. We can link it back to a register as well. So that is pulling all that incident information, however brief or however detailed it is, and linking it back to areas in the rest of the solution. Now, on the reporting side, we have various options, which I mentioned before. So we have over 100 standard reports in the system, which you can choose from, and many of those have filters as well. But we also have some reports built in, and we have a audit trail on here that just you click on there and it shows you the information, and you can click on here and it would show you a timeline of when that incident was changed. There are dashboards. So these are our AI-driven dashboards. And everybody receives a standard suite of them, but then you can start to design your own dashboards to meet your own requirements. So you can see I've got different titles down here. So I've created a third-party dashboard. The different graphics, you can have pie graphs, bar charts, heat maps, etc. There's lots of options, and they're quite simple to produce because you type in natural language what you want to see on the screen, and then this is produced in as much detail as you wish. You can also share these to the modules, so you don't always have to come into dashboards to see them. They can actually be shared so that you can see them within the third parties, within risk or monitoring. So they're captured all together with the data that you're looking at. So we might want to have a compliance dashboard, and you can see that there's many options there for us to create those. And these can be shared, these can be put into reports and shared elsewhere, and you can also share your dashboard with other users too. Reporting wise, the custom reports, these are what we build out. So when we're onboarding, we're looking at what information do you want to work with, what information do you want to present in your meetings to your board, and then we can design these appropriately. We do have lots of examples we can show you, so that you could look at something and see if you want it tweaked a little bit, and we can create that for you. So this is just a typical third-party dashboard, taking information for contracts that are up for renewal in the next 90 days. Then if we go on to looking at an individual provider, we can see the third party, we can see the functions it's connected to, the activities, and the other entities that benefit from this third party. We can look at the due diligence, so we can see this in a dashboard widget, and also we can see it in a full report as well. Then moving down here, there's just other ways of sort of representing the data. Because we have this linkage in the background here, we can sort of see our third parties, the activity they're associated with, and the service that they're linked to. So whichever way round you wish to look at this information, we can create a report, whether it's taking the incident and seeing what is that incident connected to, where does it affect, or if it's looking at the third party and seeing all the connections from that third party back to risk and controls, to incidents, to the critical business services. So that's really a sort of quick outline of the different areas of calQrisk that we can use to assist you with managing your operational resilience, looking at risk management, tying that back into our third parties, and also managing the third parties within the solution, mapping our critical business services and the different activities and linking them through the system, managing incidents, and then most importantly is the reporting and to be kept updated of what's happening within your organization and be able to react if there is sort of a downturn, if you can see that there's changes. So I'm just going to see if there's any questions that have come through. So it won't be a moment. All right. Okay. Somebody's asked whether you need to have all of those modules on the left-hand side. No, you don't have to have all of them. We tend to look at them in a use case. So if you had risk management, you would have sort of risks, tasks, and monitoring. If you just wanted to have the third party and operational resilience, you would just license third party and processes, and then that would be complemented by tasks and monitoring. So you only license those modules that you need to use at the time. But of course, if you see any other areas later on that you want to expand into, we can just set up another module for you, and it integrates perfectly into your current framework in your system. Another question that's come through, is it only for ICT third parties? No, you can keep all your third parties within the third party register. So however sort of critical they are, whether they're people that supply services to your office, fixing photocopiers or cleaning, you can maintain all your third parties and their contracts within the solution. And because they're divided by criticality and various categorization, you can sort of pick them out, report on certain groups as well. And I just got one more question on user access. So yes, we have, do we have different access roles? Yes, we have over 15 standard user access roles, and they can be from an administrator role right down to a view only, maybe view only on the dashboards. So as part of onboarding, we would look at each user and give them the minimum requirement to start with, and very carefully make sure we manage their user roles. Well, I see that we come to the end of the session, so thank you very much for joining me today. We will be sending out the slides, and if you would like to have a one-to-one presentation, please get in touch, and then I can go through the solution in more detail related to your exact organisation. But thank you very much indeed for joining me today, and have a good afternoon. Thank you.